Usually when we talk about a country like investing heavily in its people, there is this very predictable, almost mathematical equation at play.
Right. It is treated like national engineering, really.
Exactly. You pour capital into training facilities, you build up the concrete skills of your citizens, and the unemployment rate goes down. It is supposed to be this clean cause and effect.
Yeah, I mean, it is literally the foundational assumption of modern economics. You skill up the workforce, the market absorbs them, and everyone's standard of living rises.
But then you look at a place like Saudi Arabia right now,
Mhm.
and that clean equation just completely shatters.
It really does.
And the numbers here are staggering. I mean, they are investing over 30 billion rials annually in workforce training.
30 billion.
Yeah, 30 billion. That is the kind of budget that should theoretically just eradicate joblessness. Yet, the national unemployment rate among Saudi citizens is sitting stubbornly right at 11.7%.
Which makes no sense on paper.
Right. The math simply isn't mathing.
Hmm.
And the culprit is artificial intelligence.
It is the absolute definition of a structural paradox. The very ground these massive workforce development programs are built upon is shifting in real time beneath their feet.
Welcome to the deep dive. If you are building a career right now, this structural shift we are about to discuss changes the math on your own resume, no matter where you live.
Absolutely. It is relevant to everyone.
Our mission today is to be highly focused and respect your time. We are going to unpack one incredibly detailed source today, a recent massive announcement from EON AI Ventures regarding their new global virtual campus in the Gulf Cooperation Council, or the GCC.
It is a massive project.
Our goal is to extract only the most critical paradigm-shifting points about how AI is violently colliding with national workforce goals.
And the scope of the source document really is sweeping. We are examining a highly volatile intersection of artificial intelligence, traditional higher education, and aggressive government policy across the Gulf states.
It is a lot to take in.
It is. Specifically, we are looking at the mechanics of how nations are attempting to reskill their entire citizen populations at lightning speed before the AI wave completely overtakes their domestic economies.
Okay, let's unpack this. We need to start with what our source identifies as the Vision 2030 paradox.
Right.
Across the Gulf, you have these massive state-sponsored nationalization programs. Saudi Arabia has Nidicot, the UAE has Emiratization, Oman has Omanization.
Yeah, and for those unfamiliar, the entire goal of these programs is to transition their citizens away from a historical reliance on, comfortable public sector jobs.
Pushing them into the private sector.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. They want them in high-value knowledge economy roles. They are essentially trying to manufacture a modern, highly diversified workforce by heavily incentivizing and sometimes mandating private companies to hire local citizens over expatriate labor.
But here is the massive contradiction that the source highlights. According to the Anthropic Economic Index, which, by the way, is not just some survey of executive sentiment.
No, it is based on hard data.
Right, it is an index derived from real-world AI usage and token generation data. And it shows AI is currently automating 62% of banking tasks and 55% of government administration tasks.
Which is huge.
It is. And what are the exact occupational categories these GCC nationalization programs have historically targeted to absorb their citizens?
Let me guess. Banking, financial services, and administration.
Exactly.
It is a direct, catastrophic hit to the heart of their transition strategy. And the data goes even deeper. You have professional services sitting at 58% task automation, and IT and tech support at a staggering 70%.
Oh, wow. 70%.
Yeah, these aren't fringe industries, These are the core targets for Vision 2030's private sector push.
Right. The governments are trying to build up the digital economy and massive smart city projects like EON.
But the entry-level and mid-level roles required to get citizens into those ecosystems are just being hollowed out by large language models.
It is literally like governments are spending billions of dollars training their citizens for a high-stakes game of musical chairs, but AI is pulling the chairs off the floor before the music even stops playing.
That is a perfect analogy.
They are prepping people for jobs that fundamentally will not exist by the time they walk across a stage to get their diplomas.
That musical chairs analogy perfectly captures the timeline problem. To understand why this matters on a macro level, We have to distinguish between different types of economic friction.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, the disconnect in the Gulf right now is not a funding problem. I mean, 30 billion rials a year in Saudi alone proves the capital is there.
Clearly.
And it is not a cyclical economic downturn where jobs disappear for a few years during a recession and then naturally return when consumer spending recovers.
So if I am understanding this, it is not a money issue,
Yeah.
and it is not a temporary market dip. It is a velocity issue.
Exactly. It is a structural crisis. The actual architecture of the economy has fundamentally changed. The current education and credentialing model, like the four-year university degree, was built for a previous era of human capital.
Right, because it takes 4 years to produce a graduate.
Yes, but AI capabilities are advancing in 6-month cycles. So the traditional system is currently producing credentials that point students toward roles that AI is actively eliminating.
That is terrifying.
It is. By the time a national student finishes their coursework and is placed in a role, the role's core functions have already been automated.
So the pipeline is pointing directly off a cliff.
The source document describes this concept as a narrowing window. You have the displacement of current roles happening right now at unprecedented speed.
Okay.
And then eventually you will have the creation of new AI-resilient roles that are required to run a Vision 2030 economy. But the gap between those two events, the window of time a government has to bridge that transition before unemployment skyrockets, is closing fast.
And traditional universities just can't pivot that quickly.
Not at all. The traditional credential infrastructure is simply too slow, far too expensive, and frankly, aiming at the wrong targets to bridge that gap.
I mean, because you can't just hand over sovereign national data to Silicon Valley, traditional off-the-shelf software platforms are immediately disqualified.
Right. The legal wall forces the GCC to build something entirely distinct.
So since traditional education is too slow and pointing students toward obsolete jobs, how can a government rapidly retrain an entire population without bankrupting the state or violating its own strict data security laws?
That is the million-dollar question.
Which leads us directly into the technological solution proposed in our source. Enter EON AI Ventures and their global virtual campus.
The mechanics of what they are attempting here are quite unprecedented. EON AI Ventures partnered with the University for Business and Technology, or UBT, to create this global virtual campus.
And it's not just another website, right?
No, they're rolling this out across the GCC, not just as another e-learning platform, but as a sovereign workforce infrastructure response.
Let's look at the actual offering. It delivers a European university credential from UBT, which the source notes is ranked number 6 in the world for industry and innovation.
Which is a very solid ranking.
Yeah. And crucially, it is aligned with local national qualification frameworks, or NQFs, across Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, and Oman.
Meaning it actually counts.
Right. Local ministries of education actually recognize the degree as valid for national employment quotas. But this is where the skepticism kicks in for me. I have to push back on the core financial claim here. EON claims they can deliver this formally accredited European university credential at approximately 1% of the cost of a traditional GCC university.
That is the figure they are taking to market, yes.
Yeah.
1%.
Look at the math here for a second. A traditional GCC university usually runs anywhere from $15,000 to $60,000 a year per student. 1% of that is roughly $150 to $600.
Yeah.
If I am a listener looking at this critically, I have to ask, can a platform operating at 1% of the cost actually deliver a credential that international employers and strict government ministries will respect?
It sounds impossible.
At 1% the cost, I'm assuming you don't get a physical campus climbing wall or a lazy river, but it sounds dangerously close to a diploma mill.
Yeah.
How does the quality not completely collapse?
What's fascinating here is how they achieve that scale without collapsing the academic rigor. The cost reduction comes from severing the credential from the physical real estate.
Oh, so you aren't paying for the campus lazy river.
Exactly. You aren't paying for the administrative bloat or the physical constraints of a lecture hall. But the skepticism is entirely warranted unless you look at the infrastructure backing it up.
Okay, make that make sense.
We aren't talking about a generic, lightweight online course that a startup threw together in a weekend. The quality control comes from 2 established pillars.
Oh, this is the first one.
First, on the tech side, this platform is built on 25 years of EON's global infrastructure. They have been operating in over 80 countries with more than 4,400 institutional partners.
So they have been doing this a long time.
Right. The technological backbone, the server networks, the content delivery systems is a sunk cost that has already been amortized globally.
Got it. And the second pillar?
Second, on the academic side, UBT holds a 4-year accreditation from the British Accreditation Council.
That is a big deal.
It really is. That is not a rubber stamp. It is a rigorous audit accepted by GCC ministries and international employers across the UK, EU, and US. Their diplomas are recognized for transfer at over 500 universities.
And the source notes, UBT boasts a 98% graduate employment rate, which is wildly high for any institution.
The reason that employment rate is so high is the curriculum mapping. The platform offers over 9,000 courses that are mapped directly, almost reverse engineered, from Vision 2030 priority sectors.
Oh, so they aren't teaching legacy banking administration.
Exactly. They are teaching NEOM logistics, fintech regulation, and renewable energy grids. These are sectors explicitly designed to be AI resilient.
Teaching the specific technical skills the Gulf is actively trying to build right now, rather than generic liberal arts degrees.
Precise.
Okay, so the technological scale handles the cost, and the British accreditation handles the academic rigor. But earlier we talked about digital sovereignty.
Yes, a crucial point.
I imagine localization isn't just about translating English menus into Arabic. If you are building this for the Gulf, you are dealing with strict Sharia-compliant content architecture.
Very strict.
How does an AI filter for that without hallucinating? And more importantly, how do they secure the data? If you are a Gulf state, you do not play around with data residency.
You have hit on arguably the most important technical feat of this entire solution, the localization.
How does it work?
The source makes it abundantly clear. This is not a Western platform that was awkwardly adapted for the Gulf. It features an Arabic-first AI mentor.
Wait, Arabic first, not just translated.
Right. This isn't an English large language model running a translation layer, which often loses cultural nuance. It is native Arabic delivery, which includes built-in Sharia-compliant content architecture and gender-appropriate learning pathways directly at the prompt level.
But where does the AI brain actually live? Because if it is pinging a server in California to process a Saudi citizen's financial training data, that violates local law.
This is where the platform clears the biggest regulatory hurdle. It operates strictly on-premise within GCC borders.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in the tech world, we call this air-gapped or localized hosting. There is no cross-border transfer of data back to Silicon Valley.
So it stays completely within their jurisdiction.
Exactly. It is fully compliant with SAMA, which is the Saudi Central Bank's highly restrictive data framework, and the UAE's TDRA regulations.
That is massive.
It is. Hosting a complex AI mentor entirely locally without relying on external cloud processing requires immense computational infrastructure.
For government ministry, that localized hosting is the holy grail. They can deploy a world-class AI training platform without compromising national cybersecurity.
Exactly.
They aren't letting their citizens' learning data leak to foreign tech giants or violating cultural integrity.
The legal wall forces innovation.
Uh-huh.
By keeping the data sovereign, the GCC governments maintain absolute control over the intellectual development of their population.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The fact that the technology is strictly localized and government compliant reveals a much deeper philosophical shift happening here.
It really does.
This entire platform is part of something the source calls the Sovereign Human Initiative, and the underlying premise is profound.
How so?
It argues that nations and their citizens, not just massive, centralized global tech corporations, must be equipped to lead in the AI economy.
It is a direct pushback against the current trajectory, where the future of work is entirely dictated by 3 or 4 companies in California.
All right.
Silicon Valley wants to sell governments API access to their intelligence. The GCC, through this Sovereign Human Initiative, is saying, no, we need to own the intelligence pipeline ourselves.
Because the stakes are too high.
Exactly. If AI is going to displace your workforce, you better own the mechanism that reskills them, or you become completely dependent on a foreign entity for your national economic survival.
So what does this all mean? Whether you are listening to this in Riyadh, London, or New York, this raises a massive, uncomfortable question.
It really does.
If the GCC successfully deploys an AI-driven, hyper-localized, globally recognized university credential at 1% of the cost, what happens to the traditional global university model?
That is the big question.
Are we looking at the blueprint for how every nation on Earth will have to handle AI job displacement?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the answer is very likely yes. The GCC is effectively acting as a massive, well-funded beta test for rapid sovereign workforce transformation.
A beta test for the whole world.
Yeah. Look at how EON's platform integrates directly with state agencies. The source details integrations with the Saudi HRDF, the UAE's Nafes program, and Bahrain's Temkeen.
These are the state entities that hold the massive national training budgets. They're the ones actually paying for the citizens to get reskilled.
Exactly. And by integrating directly into those government portals, EON provides what the document calls ministry reportable outcomes from day one.
Meaning they can track everything.
It offers real-time employment tracking and per-national reporting. This fundamentally shifts the burden of education.
Wow.
Well, it takes it from being a slow, academic, somewhat abstract pursuit managed by siloed universities and turns it into a real-time, state-secured data operation.
It makes education as trackable and quantifiable as an engineering project.
Exactly.
The government can look at a dashboard and see exactly who is learning what, if those skills are verified, and if the talent pool aligns with the national economic strategy for that specific quarter.
And at 1% of the cost, a Ministry of Education or Labor can take their existing sovereign training budget and push it through this platform to produce formally accredited, globally recognized graduates at a scale that the current physical university model simply cannot match.
It's just a totally different scale.
You don't have to wait 4 years to build a new campus. You press copy-paste on an AI mentor. Whoever moves first on this, as the source points out, holds the human capital leadership narrative for the entire region.
It is a total paradigm shift. We have covered a lot of ground very quickly today.
We really have.
We started with the Vision 2030 paradox, the painful reality of government spending billions to train people for banking and admin jobs that AI is already actively automating, creating a narrowing window for survival.
Right.
We unpacked EON and UBT's 1% cost solution, exploring how a 25-year-old tech infrastructure paired with a top-ranked European university can deliver hyper-localized, Sharia-compliant, on-premise credentials.
A huge leap forward.
And finally, we zoomed out to see the global implications of the Sovereign Human Initiative, where nations take back control of their workforce data from Silicon Valley.
It is a vital reminder that keeping up with these structural shifts isn't just an academic exercise for policymakers. It impacts the fundamental value of human labor.
Staying informed on how rapid AI-driven credentialing is evolving is exactly how you can remain AI resilient in your own career, regardless of what industry you are currently in.
Before we wrap up, there is one final, almost hidden detail in the source material that I want to leave you to mull over.
Oh, what is that?
We talked about how these ministries require ministry reportable outcomes to justify their budgets. Well, the document specifies that the platform achieves this through AI-verified skill assessment.
Wait, meaning the AI is actually grading the human?
Yes. Think about the profound closed-loop cycle that creates. Artificial intelligence as a macroeconomic force is what is displacing human workers from their jobs in the first place. To survive that displacement, humans must use this localized platform, which relies on an Arabic-first AI mentor to teach them new skills.
Right.
And finally, an AI is used to assess, grade, and verify if the human has actually learned those skills well enough to be employable.
Wow. That is heavy. The AI is the cause of the crisis, the method of the rescue, and the final judge of the outcome.
This raises an important question. Are we entering an era where artificial intelligence is simultaneously our greatest competitor for jobs, our most intimate and culturally aligned teacher, and the ultimate objective judge of our economic value to the state?
That is a thought that will definitely stick with you long after this is over. A huge thank you for joining us on this highly focused deep dive today.
Thanks for listening.
We hope this look into the GCC's collision with AI, the mechanics of a 1% cost university, and the Sovereign Human Initiative gave you a new perspective on the rapid structural changes happening in the future of work. Keep questioning the shifting world around you, stay curious, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.